How good is the Seattle Seahawks roster overall? All right, everybody. Happy Wednesday, also known as first training camp practice of the year day. The Seattle Seahawks, sounds like everyone's in town, and they should be practicing at some point today. So either later today or tomorrow, I'll be posting a video talking about whatever it is that we get to hear about. I'm not there, obviously. I'm not at the VMAC. I'm not going to be able to see anything firsthand, but we do get a lot of good information from the great people who do get to go to training camp. The Corbin Smiths of the world, the Bob Condotas of the world, the Greg Bells of the world. So I'll be keeping my ear close to the ground and passing along the things that I see from them. But before we get there, because obviously as of right now, there's not much to say, it's still pretty early in the day, I wanted to look at one well, I don't want to say final because who knows what they're going to do, but I wanted to look at a kind of summary article that ESPN posted yesterday morning. And the idea here with this article that we are looking at right now is it's kind of a culmination of all the work they did over the last 3 weeks or so, accumulating the ranking lists of the best players at each position. Now, to be clear, I'm not going to say this result is taken directly from directly from the lists that they put out, because this is put together by ESPN contributors and the lists were put together by actual coaches, GMs, executives, scouts. So it's probably a little bit different, but the idea is they rank every team's roster, which is, again, you're taking all the pieces of the lists you put together over the last couple weeks, and you're kind of synthesizing it down to one overall list. And I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at it, see what ESPN thinks about the Seahawks. And I will say the results are, I think, relatively understandable. Remember, this is just the roster, not necessarily what the team is actually going to be in terms of their results. Please click the thumbs up button on this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. Okay. I'm not going to scroll through this whole article. It's a very long article because they do all 32 teams. Let's just jump to where Seattle is. They are 20th. Out of 32 teams, they rank 20th in terms of their roster. There's a little bit of a write-up here. The biggest strength is interior defensive line, which I think I agree. I don't know what else it could be. Maybe cornerback, maybe running back, but I think it's interior defensive line. Biggest weakness, offensive line. And can't think of what else it could be, to be perfectly honest. So sounds good to me. X factor for 2025, Cooper Kupp. I think that's pretty understandable. We do need a number 2 receiver, and we don't really have anybody obvious if it's not Kupp. Non-starter to know, DeMarcus Lawrence. Reasonable. Maybe you could put somebody like Zach Charbonnet in there. Maybe you could put somebody like I don't know. I don't think anybody in the secondary really makes sense unless you want to say Emin Worry. But some people might consider Emin Worry a starter if he's going to be the starting nickel. Nickels don't always start, but they often do. Pretty reasonable. But the overall summation of this roster is 20th out of 32. And when you combine that with all the stuff we saw over the last couple weeks when they were ranking position by position, the issue with this Seahawks team becomes clear. And this is something that has been an issue for a little while now. The Seahawks have good players. They have some very good players. Maybe they have a few players that are even great, but there is not a lot of elite stuff going on here. The Seahawks currently have 2 players on their team that I think would be considered top 5 at their position in the NFL, Leonard Williams and Michael Dickson. One of those guys, by the way, is a punter, so obviously that's a crucial thing, but not everybody's going to be judging that the same way they would other positions. So in terms of stuff that people are actually going to look at and go, hey, that's a guy who really gets in there and helps you win games, Big Cat is kind of all we have. And by the way, ESPN actually ranked Leonard Williams at 6th in interior defensive linemen. I think he's pretty clearly top 5 based on the way he played last year. Regardless, that's it. We have other really good players. Don't get me wrong. Devin Witherspoon is awesome. Guys like Charles Cross are coming into their own, but they're not there. And this is something that's been going on for a while here. You look at the early Pete Carroll, John Schneider Seahawks, 2012 through 2017. You had players like Richard Sherman, one of the 2 best corners in the league during his heyday. From 2012 to 2017 when he got hurt, he was consistently a top 3 corner, probably top 2. You had Earl Thomas, the best safety in the league during his prime. Cam Chancellor, among strong safeties, certainly at least top 5, probably top 3 during his heyday. Bobby Wagner, top 3 inside linebacker during his heyday. Marshawn Lynch, one of the 3 best running backs in the league for a few years there. You had players like that could carry so much, that could carry you to so much good stuff that the rest of the team wouldn't need to do that much to get you the rest of the way there. Like, they had other really good players. They had Michael Bennett. They had Cliff Averill. They had KJ Wright. They had early career Russell Wilson. They had Zach Miller. These were not top 3 players at their positions back then, but they didn't need to be. We still have players of that caliber on this team, but the elite guys that lift them to the point where they can get you to the finish line hasn't really been here for a few years. And after that era, right, after we lost some of those guys, after some of those guys weren't the players that they used to be anymore, you had Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson became one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And there wasn't necessarily a ton else that was hyper elite during that time. Maybe Bobby Wagner, I guess. I guess you could say he kind of carried over for a decent chunk of that. But even then, you at least had that. And by the way, that's at the most important position in football. So even though it was less, it was still significant. Now, you don't have anything like that. You don't have, again, with the exception of, I think, Leonard Williams, you don't have, well, Dixon. Okay, we'll put Dixon in there. You don't really have any guys that are in the conversation for top 3 best at their position. And this is what you get. You get a slightly below average roster. But this kind of got me thinking, and I went back through ESPN's archives a little bit to find this. This is something they put together a few months ago. I know it's a little out of date, but not really much has changed since they did this. So I want to look at this and think about it for a second. Power rankings. May 5th, a couple months back, closing in on, 2.5, 3 months? But what has really changed since May 5th? Not that much. This is post-draft. This is post-free agency for the most part. There's not been a ton of movement since this article came out. Where did they put the Seahawks? 16th. And therefore, I think that this kind of tells the story here. The experts, the people who work at ESPN, they have looked at this team and they've determined they have a slightly below average roster, but clearly they like our coaches. They like McDonald, and I guess they like Kubiak. Because if they think the 20th best roster is going to produce the 16th best results, they're saying they're going to be lifted up by their coaches. So I guess we have that going for us according to ESPN. And that's a pretty good thing to have going for you, I guess. I mean, that's better than a lot of things, right? Because players come and go, but coaches, at least head coaches that are worth keeping around, they stick around a long time. And as someone who likes McDonald a lot and is optimistic about what he did as a rookie coach and knows that he's very young, I'm hoping that McDonald can be the coach here for the next 20 years. I guess that's something you can take away here. The ESPN writers seem to believe that the Seahawks are going to get better results than their roster. And that can be attributed to coaching, maybe schedule, but I don't think these power rankings are even considering schedule. I don't think that this is even taking something like that into account, because it's not so much about record, it's about how good they believe the teams will be. Okay, that's where we're sitting right now, guys. Going into this first day of training camp today, ESPN says we are the 20th best roster in football. And this is why I talk so much about trading for Micah Parsons or a Trey Hendrickson or somebody like that. I know that some people say it's too much, but this is kind of why I hammer that stuff so much, even if I don't love any of it. Believe me, the idea of giving up a ton of assets for a Micah Parsons doesn't sit that well with me, but we need players that are elite at their position, and right now we just only have the one. And it's been a while since we've had more than one. Like, not since maybe Russell Wilson in 2020, that first half of the year, was setting the world on fire, have we really had that guy. Let me know what you guys think. See you guys later. Go Hawks.